All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Definitely. Always up for a good deep dive.
Great. Today we're heading back to ancient Greece,
Ah, ancient Greece. Always a fascinating topic.
but we're focusing on something specific, their gymnasiums.
Gymnasium. So we're talking about, like, the history of exercise.
Kinda, but it's way more than just lifting weights or running on a treadmill.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. What makes them so special?
Well, we found this article. It basically says these places were like cultural hubs.
Cultural hubs. Interesting.
Yeah, they shaped bodies, of course, but also minds and social structures.
Wow. That's pretty different from how we think of gyms today.
Right. And get this, the word gymnasium actually comes from the Greek word gymnos.
Gymnos. That rings a bell, doesn't it mean?
Exactly. Naked.
Whoa, hold on. They exercise naked.
Yep. Apparently it was totally normal back then. It was all about celebrating the human form.
Huh. That's definitely not how we do things now.
Yeah, talk about a cultural shift, right? Makes you wonder what people will think of our workout gear in the future.
Haha. Good point. But okay, so besides the whole nudity thing, what else made these gymnasiums unique?
Well, the article says they weren't just for physical training.
Oh, what else did they do there?
They were also centers for intellectual discussion, like big time.
Seriously. So people would just hang out and debate philosophy while getting their sweat on?
Pretty much. The ancient Greeks believed in this holistic approach to education, a sound mind in a sound body.
So it wasn't just about building muscles. It was about developing the whole person.
Exactly. And get this, one of the biggest proponents of this whole idea was Aristotle, the famous philosopher.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But what does he have to do with gymnasiums?
Well, his student, Alexander the Great, actually spread this concept throughout his entire empire.
Wow, that's quite the legacy.
Yeah.
Talk about using education to unify people.
Right. But let's go back to the physical stuff for a second. The ancient Greeks, they were really big on military preparedness, right?
Absolutely. Always ready for a battle, it seemed.
So did the gymnasiums play a role in that at all?
Big time.
Yeah.
Especially for training hoplites.
Hoplites, remind me, who are they again?
They were the heavily armed infantry soldiers, like the backbone of the Greek army.
You're right, the ones with the spears and shields and all that.
Exactly. And imagine training in all that heavy bronze armor. It was intense.
I bet. So were these gymnasiums basically like military boot camps then?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they did prepare soldiers for battle, of course.
Yeah, I can imagine it was pretty tough.
But they also focused a lot on ethical conduct, sportsmanship, even during competitions.
So it wasn't just about being a good warrior, but a good citizen, too.
Right. Shaping character was a big deal for them.
Interesting. And I'm guessing they had, like, officials to oversee everything, right? Like coaches or referees.
They had gymnasts, actually. It wasn't just a noun back then.
Gymnasts. So, like, teacher coaches.
Yeah. They were responsible for training, making sure everything ran smoothly, and instilling values in their students.
Huh. So they were kind of like mentors, too.
Exactly. And in Athens, they even had 10 publicly appointed gymnasts.
Yeah, 10. Wow, that's a lot.
Right. They organized competitions, kept things in order, and even provided medical care.
Sounds like a pretty important job. So we're seeing these gymnasiums weren't just casual workout spots. It was a whole system.
Yeah, they took it seriously.
But I do have one question. Was this system open to everyone?
Ah, that's a good question. And it's one historians still debate about.
Really? Why is that?
Well, the article mentions a theory that gymnasiums might have been exclusive, especially the ones with fancy facilities.
Oh, you mean like only for the rich and powerful?
Potentially. Some historians think they were like social clubs for the upper class.
So not just about fitness then, but also about like social status.
Yeah, it's possible. A way to show off their wealth, their physical prowess. But we can't forget about the competitions held in these gymnasiums.
Right. The article did mention those.
And those weren't about winning material prizes,
Oh, so what were they about then?
It was about earning honor, respect. Many of them were even part of religious festivals or funerals.
So it was like a really big deal.
Absolutely. Victory was seen as a tribute to the gods and heroes.
That's pretty different from how we see competitions today.
It is, isn't it? Our focus is all about medals and sponsorships.
Yeah, different values at play for sure.
Definitely. But it looks like we're just about out of time for this part of our deep dive.
Already? Oh, man.
Don't worry, we'll be back soon to explore more about these fascinating ancient gymnasiums.
Can't wait. See you all next time. Okay, so we left off talking about those three big Athenian gymnasiums, the Academy, the Lyceum, and the Cynosarges.
Yeah. Each one was like its own little world, really, to attracting different kinds of thinkers and all that.
Like ancient Greek think tanks, almost. But
Yeah.
what exactly made each one unique?
Well, the Academy, that was Plato's stomping ground.
Right, founded by Plato, I remember.
It was all about, those big philosophical questions,
Like what?
ethics, politics, the nature of reality even,
Hmm.
heavy stuff.
And to think, those conversations still influence us today. Crazy.
And it's interesting, the way the Academy was structured, it kind of foreshadowed modern universities.
Really? How so?
They had dedicated spaces for different disciplines. It wasn't just a random jumble of people talking. There was some organization to it.
That's fascinating. Okay, so what about Aristotle's place, the Lyceum? Was it similar?
Not really. Aristotle was much more about observation, logic,
Mm. Yeah, he was a bit more grounded, I guess you could say.
Exactly. So at the Lyceum, the focus was on the natural world, biology, physics, astronomy, that kind of thing.
So instead of sitting around pondering the meaning of life, they were out there dissecting squid.
Haha, pretty much.
Hmm.
Aristotle believed that true knowledge came from studying the world around us.
Makes sense. Observation and all that. Okay, and the Cynosarges, the article said it was a bit more inclusive, right?
Yeah, it was definitely more open. They welcomed foreigners, people from lower social classes.
People who might have been excluded from the other places?
Exactly. It was kind of a challenge to the whole social hierarchy thing.
Very interesting. So you've got these three gymnasiums, all with a shared purpose, but each with its own distinct personality.
It's really cool how they evolved in different directions. But hey, what we haven't really talked about?
What's that?
The actual nitty-gritty of hoplite training. What did they actually do?
Oh, yeah, good point. I mean, we know they train for battle and all, but what did that look like?
Well, imagine yourself as a young hoplite, right? You're out there in the hot sun, sweating buckets in your bronze armor,
Oh, man, that doesn't sound fun.
and you're spending hours practicing the phalanx formation.
Well, no.
The phalanx, this tight line of warriors, shields overlapping. Super important for battle.
Ah, okay, I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah, and it required crazy discipline, coordination. Your life depended on your buddies.
Wow, that's intense. So it wasn't just about building muscles then, it was about teamwork, trust.
Exactly. It instilled all these values that were super important to them, both as soldiers and as citizens.
So it was like a character-building boot camp almost.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
And all this was happening in these amazing buildings. Remember the article talked about sculptures of Hercules and other gods?
Oh, yeah, they weren't just decorating the place, were they?
Nope. Those sculptures were there to remind everyone of the values those gods represented. Strength, courage, discipline.
But it was all connected. The physical training, the values, the beliefs. It wasn't just about lifting weights.
Exactly. It was all part of a larger ideal.
Yeah.
And the architecture itself, the colonnades, the stadiums, it all added to that sense of grandeur.
Yeah, it's amazing how they wove everything together. It wasn't just a gym, it was a whole experience.
Right. But you know who took that experience to a whole other level?
Who?
The Romans.
Ah, yes, the Romans. They loved their Greek culture, didn't they? But they also loved their luxury. So what did they do with the whole gymnasium idea?
Well, they basically turned it into the ultimate leisure experience. Remember the thermae, those massive bathhouses?
Oh, yeah, the thermae. It's like they combined a gym, a spa, and a social club all into one.
Exactly. They kept the focus on fitness and social interaction, but they added this whole layer of indulgence.
So you could work out, have a sauna, get a massage, even grab some food. Sounds like a pretty good deal.
Haha, right. And the architecture was insane. Soaring ceilings, intricate mosaics, marble everywhere.
Must have been quite a sight to see.
Yeah, truly impressive.
But were these Roman bathhouses only for the rich and famous, like the Greek gymnasiums might have been?
They did have different sections for different social classes, but they were generally more accessible than the Greek ones.
So a wider range of people could enjoy them.
Exactly. It was a reflection of a Roman society, which is a bit more open in some ways.
And I bet the emperors loved those bathhouses.
Oh, definitely. They saw them as a way to show off their power, their generosity.
It's fascinating how the Greek concept of the gymnasium transformed as it moved to a new culture.
Yeah, the Romans definitely put their own spin on it. But you know what? It makes me wonder about us.
Us? What do you mean?
Do we see any remnants of those ancient gymnasiums in our own fitness culture today?
That's a good question. I mean, we definitely still work out, go to gyms.
Right, but do we capture that same spirit, that holistic approach? It seems like we've lost something along the way.
Yeah, I see what you mean. We compartmentalize everything. Work, exercise, social life, all separate.
And the ancient Greeks, They saw it all as connected. It makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. What can we learn from them? And what will our legacy in the world of fitness be?
Yeah, it really makes you think, huh? Like we've got gyms and libraries and places to hang out with friends, but it's also separate.
Right. It's like we've forgotten that it's all connected. The mind and body, our individual lives, and the community.
Yeah, the ancient Greeks, they really got that, didn't they? Like those gymnasiums weren't just places to work out. They were like mini versions of society itself.
Absolutely. And taking part in all of it. The physical training and the intellectual discussions and the civic events, it was all part of being a good citizen. And that's so different from us today, huh? We're all about individual goals and achievements.
It is a different mindset for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Is there anything we can learn from them? Should we all be signing up for philosophy classes at the gym?
Huh. Maybe not literally, but I do think there's something to be said for bridging that gap, you know? Creating spaces where we can develop our minds and bodies at the same time.
Yeah. Imagine a fitness center that also had book clubs or lectures or even like art exhibits.
That would be so cool. It would bring back that sense of community, that feeling that we're all in this together.
Exactly. It's about creating connections, not just to our own bodies and minds, but to the people around us.
It really makes you wonder what people will think of our fitness culture 100 years from now.
Right. Will they think we were too focused on looking good? Or maybe too obsessed with individual achievement?
Who knows? But maybe they'll look back and say, hey, those ancient Greeks, they were onto something.
Maybe. They understood that well-being isn't just about the physical. It's about the whole package.
Well, I know I'm definitely walking away from this deep dive with a lot to think about. Maybe I won't be debating Socrates while I'm doing squats,
Uh-huh.
but I am going to try to, be more mindful about that whole mind-body connection.
I think that's a great takeaway. It's all about finding that balance.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on this journey through ancient Greece. It's been amazing.
My pleasure. It's always fun to explore these topics with you.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in. Remember, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.